I am delighted to welcome our guest today, Jack Posobiec. Jack Posobiec is a political commentator and the senior editor at Human Events. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Danielle, thanks so much for having me. Congrats to you, by the way, filling in for the big man while he's away.
Yes, thank you, Jack. Yes, the big man and not the big guy, because I don't want to be a little
Definitely
hunter.
Not the big guy. No. Absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you, Jack. Well, Jack, you have such fascinating insights. So I want to start by getting your reaction to Tulsi Gabbard recently posting on her Twitter that she's leaving the Democrat Party. Listen.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers who are driven by cowardly wokeness, who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism, who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, who demonize the police but protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, who believe in open borders, who weaponize the national security state to go after their political opponents, and above all, who are dragging us ever closer to nuclear war. Now, I believe in a government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people. Unfortunately, today's Democratic Party does not. Instead, it stands for a government that is of, by, and for the powerful elite. Now, I'm calling on my fellow common sense, independent-minded Democrats to join me in leaving the Democratic Party. If you can no longer stomach the direction that the so-called woke Democratic Party ideologues are taking our country, then I invite you to join me.
So, Jack, I want to get your reaction.
Well, I think it's very interesting. So Tulsi Gabbard, and if we remember correctly, she did resign all the way back in 2016 as the vice chair of the Democratic Party. And so to see her now leaving the party completely, it doesn't come as a huge surprise. I think a lot of people saw this move coming. It's something that she certainly telegraphed. I mean, she's spoken at CPAC. She's guest hosted for Tucker Carlson. She's appeared at events with myself, with James O'Keefe and others. I've had the chance to talk with her offline a little bit. She's definitely riding this wave that I really think is the wave of the future of politics. What do I mean by that? I mean that the consistent thing that you see with Tulsi, as opposed to other Democrats or really leftists in particular, is that there's a lot of places where she'll say, look, I disagree with conservatives on maybe 80% of things. I don't think we agree with Tulsi Gabbard on social issues, particularly. But if there are things like law and order, if there are things like the economy, if there are things like foreign policy where we can find agreement, or these issues of censorship, these issues, I mean, look what PayPal did this week, or almost did, they attempted to censor everybody, that she is broadly in agreement with. Also, she's a Second Amendment supporter. I think that there is a space where we can actually get out of this sort of deadlocked feud of just left versus right all the time, and actually kind of get back to a new place where we make it about the people versus the establishment. And then even if we disagree on some of these fundamental issues, like the issue of life, like issues of marriage, like so many other issues out there, that we can at least agree on other things, maybe climate, something where we can come to agreement on, maybe not massive carbon taxes for the entire society, but actually come to an agreement on fourth generation nuclear power in our country and revitalizing our own American industry while continuing, again, to support the jobs out of fracking, the LNG industry in the United States, particularly Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio, hopefully New York, maybe if Zeldin wins, that I think we really can get to a new place in our politics. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like or what that's called, but I think that this wave that Tulsi's on is part of that. I've actually been really interested in her as a candidate going all the way back to 2014, because I remember Tulsi Gabbard, when she was elected to Congress, she was one of the few people that during the war on terror, and even under the Obama administration, she would criticize Barack Obama and his administration for not using the phrase radical Islamic terrorism. And that she would go on, she would come out on Fox News, she would come on other places, and she would actually use those words, radical Islamic terrorism. And that's, I think, when she first really came on my radar as to say, you know what, there's something going on that's a little bit different with this congresswoman.
Absolutely. And I think the great thing, too, about people like Tulsi is hopefully they can even try to win in places that are blue. Like she's from Hawaii, other places. I feel like that people want common sense. I mean, we can't tear down people like her if they are in a blue place. But I want to get your reaction to what's been happening on left-wing blue check Twitter. They have been tearing down Elon Musk for, they say that he's been talking to Putin. What's your reaction to that on Twitter?
Okay, so the drama goes like this. It started with a Vice article, but the Vice article is really predicated on Ian Bremmer, who is the chairman of what's called the Eurasia Group. But he's really just one of these chief neoliberal economist type pro-globalism pundits out there. One of the leading voices, by the way. And so you'll find people that are Republicans and people who are Democrats that are supportive of him. But that's when, kind of gets back to what I was saying before about Tulsi. It's this idea of, are you pro-establishment or are you someone who's actually for the people? And so with Ian Bremmer, he came out and said that, he said something, this anecdote that Elon Musk had said to him that before Elon put up this poll on Twitter about essentially his outlined 4-point peace plan for Russia and Ukraine, he actually said that Elon spoke to Putin before that poll took place. And so Vice puts up this article, their headline, Elon Musk spoke directly with Russian President Vladimir Putin before tweeting a proposal to end the war in Ukraine that would have seen territory permanently ceded to Russia. It has been claimed. To which Elon then responds, yes, I did speak to him, but it was 18 months ago, long before any of this stuff ever started.
It's been claimed, but when was it claimed?
And so, again, you see them, they are going after Elon like crazy right now. They're calling him a Russian asset, the same way they went after Flynn for speaking to the Russian ambassador. And you're even seeing places like the Lincoln Project has come out and called for the prosecution of Elon Musk under the Logan Act, and so what you're seeing here is very similar. So anyone like Tulsi Gabbard, who says we should find a way to de-escalate tension so we don't get into World War III. Anyone like Elon, who says we need to find a way to de-escalate tension so we don't get into World War III, they get demonized because they're not going along with the narrative. They're not going along with the current thing. And if you say that you're not for nuclear war with Russia, apparently that makes you a Russian asset these days. But what really gets me so interested is that this is the same group of people that said, under COVID-19, we need to demonize people who don't get the vaccine mandate, that you're a murderer if you're unvaccinated. By the way, I'm unvaccinated, my wife's unvaccinated, our children are unvaccinated. We're planning to stay that way because we believe in something called natural immunity. We've all had COVID and we're fine. So they were demonizing and calling for lockdowns over COVID-19, but yet at the same time, they seem completely cavalier and nonchalant about wading into World War III with the country that, by the way, right, let's just go to the charts here. Russia has more nuclear warheads than any other country on Earth.
Wow. So that really would be World War III.